Hey everyone, Zignignod here to go ahead and give you a quick Unico Nova Blast update. The last post that they had is from this poor YouTuber who is trying to make it look easy, taking the bezel off and putting the screen into tape mode. He then starts off by showing that apparently now the screws are on the outside of the bezel, which not only looks really cheap, but now is making your very delicate plexiglass bezel susceptible to being scratched by the screwdriver if you make any kind of mess ups. The bezel then does not come out unless you push it out from the rear. So you need to take the rear panel off, push the bezel, and then that'll free up the cabinet. He then shows in fast forward having to take off 10 screws to unscrew this monitor from the mount. He then shows how he ripped the power lead and the video lead off the back of the monitor because the cables were so short that when he removed this from horizontal view to put it into a vertical setup, it ripped straight off. Then shows in fast forward putting the screws back into vertical position, and then has to clean the bezel because he fingerprinted it up, not because it's his fault, but because of poor design, because you basically have to manhandle this thing from inside and out in order to go ahead and get the bezel on and off. Long story short, this all takes that's a face. This all takes about 6 minutes in total for his video. We have a first comment here by Slimmin, which is an ironic name given who's just posted this video. Waiting for a future version of the cab with an easy and quick screen rotation system, which I think is a perfectly valid thing to request. And you know there's probably going to be a future version if this thing sells well, and that's a big if. But Unico goes ahead and responds with, "We feel sorry that you feel that way, and you can go ahead and rotate this in less than a couple minutes." There is no way in hell, especially given the fact that this rear panel was already taken off when this video started. There is no way in hell you're doing this in less than a couple minutes. The rear panel had already been taken off, and he fast forwarded through every single screw, and on top of that, he says in the video that he doesn't have all the screws on the front bezel because it's such of a pain in the ass to have to take them all in the same time, and they don't really all need to be there. So he has at least 2 less screws than needed. He recommends that everyone go ahead and take out all the screws except for the ones in the far corners to make the process go quicker. And he still can't get this done fast forwarded in less than 6 minutes. How the hell are you doing this in less than 2? Plus, keep in mind, you're probably gonna have this in a very similar spot to this guy where it's gonna be between furniture and a wall. I know you can't see the wall because he's standing in front of it, but there you go. Long story short, you're not going to be easily getting into the rear, most likely. So you also have to factor in a time that you have to wheel this thing out, get it to a spot where you can work on. Anyways, long story short, perfectly valid complaint. They're claiming that it would prevent boards or a PC from being put into the bar top area. And my captain obvious suggestion would just be to not make it a bar top. It looks absolutely ridiculous as a bar top. It looks like you sawed an arcade machine in half and it's sitting on top of your desk. If you just made it an actual arcade machine, like it should be, it wouldn't have the ridiculous seam going down the horizon line, which the current one does. And then you could go ahead and have all that stuff that you would normally put in there, whether it's your PCB boards from your arcade boards or your PC or your video game system, wherever you're going to plug into this thing, in the bottom. And then you would have enough room for a proper screen rotating mechanism. Doesn't that just make sense? I really don't understand why this is that hard. Number 2, the only other thing that they talked about is them showing off this Phoenix monitor, which is the same Phoenix monitor and it's already out, which has tons of problems. And of course, the first comment here is that it should be able to switch between CGA, EGA, and VGA automatically without switching connections, especially for people who want to use this as a multicade playing games that use all 3 singles. Please consider this, assuming that this is not the case. This guy's actually right. It does not auto switch. In fact, that's been a huge problem with the people who have already had the panel. So if you're going to have multiple pieces of hardware in here, you better not have them all plugged in at the same time, because if they're all powered at the same time, it will probably not know what to display unless you manually set it. And if you think that 1 month out we should be getting more, you're right, but that's all we got. Being that this is the last post that we had the last time we made a video about this, we are roughly a month out from the latest point in time in which we should be able to go ahead and get units in from the pre-orders at the end of July, which is the last promise, and we have no update on the front panel design. We have no update on the cabinet door 3D render, which we still don't have any idea as to what the final version will look like outside of these little CAD illustrations. Nothing has been disclosed since then. I find it hard to believe, especially being in product manufacturing and design myself, that they do not have a sample in already 1 month away from official release when product is going to be in people's hands. This is my bold prediction. If you pre-order this and you did not cancel your pre-order like me and you're holding out, you will not have this in your hands come July. If you do, as great as that is, it must be very rushed because they should have this stuff in hands. A sample comes well before anything comes out of the factory for production, weeks ahead of time, I might add. So if they don't have the sample in their hands now, I mean, I would say probably August, September is when product would normally be squirting out. And that's if they got the sample in like right now. Like right now, and like posted a Facebook photo of the sample tomorrow. So yeah, I really don't know what the hell's going on here. I really just wish they were completely upfront and honest. I don't think that that's much to ask for, especially when you have Vuelic's sort of money on the line. I think it's more than reasonable to request communication. Because frankly speaking, I think more people than not are reasonable people, including myself. If they had come out in advance, not the month of release, if they had come out in advance and said, hey, look, these are the problems that we're having, this is how much time we're going to need, I think people would have been perfectly accepting of the new time limits and we wouldn't have had any problems. But it's because they're being so coy and not telling us anything, coupled with existing issues like with this Phoenix monitor, which they still haven't fixed, which kind of gives me pause as to whether or not this will also be messed up in this arcade unit when it comes out. It's just not a very good situation. It's just not a very good situation at all. What the fuck is he wearing? Anyway, Nick, not out.